I'm going to do that with my phone from now on.
It goes a lot faster.
We are back, and we are going to do some hotspot stuff because our stupid internet sucks. So we're going to use data, which we have unlimited data, so we're good. I knew we'd get a few people back. We just had to figure it out. And the weird thing is, whenever we hit the hotspot thing, the password had a C in it, and we had to change that because my C button doesn't work. I don't know why, but yeah, it was. We were getting a little mad at that. It just didn't make sense at all. But we were talking about the playoffs and bowl season and all that stuff. What about what happened with the Liberty Bowl? Tennessee and West Virginia were scheduled to play the Liberty Bowl. Tennessee had to back out because of COVID issues, and Army didn't have a bowl because their bowl couldn't get played. People don't realize they have a tie-in to the Independence Bowl. It's Army versus a Pac-12 team. Well, the Pac-12 teams have been having COVID issues, so the Independence Bowl was just not going to happen. And Army's final record was either 8-2 or 9-2, something ridiculous. A team that's gone something and 2, 8-2 or 9-2, they should definitely be in a bowl. So we invited Army to come to the Liberty Bowl, and they accepted. So it looks like it's going to be West Virginia versus Army. I think it's going to be a very, very good game. This is going to be a defensive battle because both of these defenses, Army is a top 10 defense and West Virginia is a top 10 defense. I think West Virginia's offense is a little bit better than Army's, but if Army gets on a roll in that running game, West Virginia is in trouble because I counted. There was at least 5 running backs that averaged over 4 yards a carry. 5 of them, and that includes the quarterback. So if West Virginia cannot stop the run, we are in deep trouble, but I think we'll be fine. And Letty Brown gives us a nice counter to their run because Letty Brown is averaging like 5.5 yards a carry. So we got to put that Iowa State game behind us. That was a terrible, bad game, and I'm glad our season didn't end with that because Iowa State flat out embarrassed us. I don't know if we didn't have any energy or it was just a bad matchup for West Virginia, but that was awful. That was awful to watch. I think West Virginia Army, my official prediction, and I'm going to do a video on this, don't worry, but my brief score prediction is going to be something like maybe 21-17, 24-17. It's going to be low scoring. I think West Virginia does win, but we can't take it for granted because Army can run the ball. They're not a very good passing team, but man, they are very good at running, and they have a good defense. So West Virginia will need to score points to win this game because it's going to be hard to come by on both sides. Skylar says, "Hey man, sorry I missed the last one." You didn't miss much, man, because my internet connection was very, very bad, and it literally froze, and we had to switch to a hotspot. So, you're good, man. You caught the good one, and that's all that matters. Scott says LSU just had at least 3 coaches gone now, including their defensive coordinator, Larry Fedora. Yes, you're right. Coach O said defense for LSU this year should be better without Aranda. Of course, it didn't happen at all this season. What about Bo Pelini? Did that actually happen? Or because I knew he was going to LSU. I'm not sure if it actually happened, though. If it did happen and their defense didn't get better, that's very surprising. Very. Scott says triple option is so hard to stop, and Army does it very, very well. They kind of remind me of Georgia Tech, but it is feast or famine. Whenever the triple option is not on, it's not good. So hopefully West Virginia studies the triple option and stays in their gaps. Do not get out of your gaps. That's when bad things happen. The two Irish brothers. It was an easy decision to add Army once Tennessee backed out. That triple option offense is a bitch. Yes, I agree. WV highlights. I think Alabama will beat Ohio State 59-42. So you're okay in the chip. So he's got Ohio State beating Clemson and then Alabama beating Ohio State. I mean, if you're confident on that, you might want to put some money on that because that you would win some money if Ohio State did pull that off. I don't think it's going to happen, but that would be a nice payday if you put money on that and that happened. So I'm not telling you what to do. I wouldn't do it because I think Clemson's going to win by at least 2 touchdowns. But if you're confident, then that's up to you. Jim says, how bad do you think Cincinnati will lose to Georgia? It's a trick question, man. It's a trick question. I think it's going to be a good game. I really do. You know, I actually do have to pick Georgia, even though I have advocated for Cincinnati since day one. And even if they do get beat by Georgia, it doesn't mean that they didn't deserve to be in the playoffs. That has nothing to do with it. You look at resume, margin of victory, and their stats, and I've done a video on it. And the math says Cincinnati should be in the playoffs. So win or lose, this doesn't prove anything. The only way you can prove the CFP's theory, and that is if we let a group of 5 in, they're going to get blown out. You have to let a group of 5 in. Otherwise, it's all hearsay. I'm not going to listen to anything until that happens. You can say, well, Cincinnati, if Cincinnati gets blown out by Georgia, well, see, I told you Cincinnati got beat by Georgia. That doesn't mean anything. Georgia has gotten better. They had 2 bad losses, but that was without JT Daniels. There's a lot of things that changed throughout the season. So even if Cincinnati loses by, say, 3 touchdowns to Georgia, that doesn't prove anything. The only thing that would prove anything is to put a group of 5 team in the playoffs, and if they get blown out, then you can say, see, we told you, and never do it again. But that's the only way you can prove it. You have to let it happen. Notre Dame got blown out by Clemson, and Texas A&M got blown out by Alabama. Blowouts happen. But Notre Dame's in the playoffs, and Texas A&M was right there, very close. So the blowouts have already happened, but they're letting teams that have already gotten blown out have a chance over the teams that they're saying they probably would get blown out. That's all hearsay, and you're letting teams that have already gotten blown out in. So I don't want to hear it until it actually happens. Let a group of 5 team in. They get blown out. They get blown out. You prove your point. There you go. So it's not about competition. It's all about the money. Just come out and say it. Scott said, Army almost beat Oklahoma 2 years ago. Yeah, that was 2018. I remember watching that game. I think that was in Norman too. That was in Norman. I remember watching that. That was a scare. W Highlight says, but if they do 45-42, that's fair. That's fair. Logan C. The reason I'm calling him Logan C is because I have 2 Logans, and sometimes Logan G comes in. So Logan C, everyone thinks they are going to beat us till game day on the field. We'll see what happens, man. I'm pulling for Cincinnati. But like I said, even if Georgia does blow them out, it doesn't mean that they didn't deserve to get in. Look at BYU. They obliterated UCF, and their only loss was to an undefeated Coastal Carolina, and it was a game that they took at the last second. They had to fly from Utah to almost the coast. Conway is very close to Myrtle Beach. So, and they only lost by 5 points, and it was last second. They were 2 yards. I think BYU made a statement against UCF, and I think Zach Wilson is going to be a great NFL quarterback. He's going to be a top 5 draft pick. I think he's done all he can do, and it's time for him to move on. And I think that statement win against UCF proved that BYU should have been in the playoffs, but they took the wrong game. That was a long flight. It was a last-second thing. One of them things. I do think they knocked BYU way too far down for that loss. They punished BYU way too much for that loss. That was a quality, close loss. You don't drop somebody 10 spots over that. That's nonsense. If it would have happened to Florida, Georgia, Oklahoma, Alabama, Clemson, you name it. Look at Florida. They lost to LS freaking U, who is way worse than Coastal Carolina, and they only fell one spot. One freaking spot. Yes, they punished BYU way too much for that. Logan C says, go Cincy, Cats by 7 in the Peach Bowl. And W Highlight says same. I don't know what he's saying, same too. Do you think that the playoffs are good as is, or do you think they should expand? What are your thoughts on that?
I don't think they're good as they are, are they?
You think they're good as it is?
I don't think they are. So.
Oh, you don't think they are? I agree with that. This thing is getting foggy. I'm going to try to wipe this off. Something's going on here. Sorry. I think that's a little bit better. Yes, I agree. The thing that's irritating with me about the playoffs, though, is they're trying to take this step by step. Like, the next step, they're saying we're going to go to 6 games. And basically what that will do is the first two, the highest 2 seeds, the 1 seed and the 2 seed will get a bye. So you got 4 teams playing each other, and the winner of that will play the next 2 seeds who got a bye. And then after that, we might go to 8. And then why don't we fix the problem now instead of trying to take baby steps and it's still not working? And, you know, we look at the NFL, they expanded from 12 to 14, but they were already at 12. They were already, you know, really close. I don't know if they're going to stay with 14. I don't know if it's because of COVID. It might go back down to 12. But 12 is still 3 times what the playoffs have now. And there is never an argument for the NFL, the NBA, the MLB, the NHL, the FCS, college football, their playoffs, and, of course, the big dance, the NCAA college basketball tournament. Yeah, they let a ton of teams in. I'm not saying go that far. But all those, there's never any problems or debate other than you get to, you know, first 4 in, last 4 out, all that stuff. That's debatable. And maybe seeding, debatable. But as far as the national champion and who got in, not debatable, not really any problems, always undisputed. Why can't college football get to that point? Why can't we have our undisputed national champion? Not UCF's going to claim a title because they went undefeated but weren't invited to the playoffs, which, you know, I think is silly, but I get why they did it. Stupid stuff like that. And then maybe Cincinnati might do that this year. Instead of college football is the laughing stock of sports right now. The laughing stock, because they can't do the right thing. And they're trying to take baby steps to get there instead of just freaking doing it. Man. That was exhausting, guys. Jim says, games are won in the trenches. Both Georgia lines are superior to Cincinnati's. I'm fine with the group of 5 teams in the New Year's 6, just not the CFP. Don't agree. Logan C. Fickle is a Tressel disciple. Get ready for a close defensive win. I didn't know that. That's a good point. Highlight says, expand the playoffs. Logan C says, expand the playoffs. Highlight says, 18 playoff. Highlight says, or 6. Everybody says, expand, expand, expand. Yes. Scott says, expanding could help. Do you think Baylor should go after the following at OC? BYU OC, San Jose OC, and Nevada OC. I will have to do some research before I give you that answer. I don't want to shoot off the hip on that one. That one's something that takes some research. Logan says it will help NFL recruiting. I agree with that too. Skylar says I want to see 12 or 16. I know that sounds crazy right now. People are like, 12 or 16? No, wait a minute. That's way too much. No, it's not. No, it's not. Look at the NFL. The wild cards, fine. They don't last very long, but at least they have a chance. And sometimes those wild cards go all the way. Maybe they get beat in the Super Bowl. Maybe they upset and win it. College football is about upsets. So if an upset happens, so be it. That's the problem. These bigger names are scared of those upsets, and they want to eliminate or limit those chances as much as possible. So by keeping it at 4, yes, they're playing tougher teams, but it eliminates that chance of that upset. Just like in the NCAA tournament bracket, the 12 versus the 5, an upset happens every single year, at least one. That is the matchup that everybody tries to figure out. Who's it going to be this year? The 5 versus the 12. Which 12 is going to upset the 5? In the NCAA at the football level needs that kind of parity as well. Yes, you want the best team to win it, but go back. Ohio State, whenever they got in as a 4 seed and won it all, that was very debatable. Alabama, when they got in as a 4 seed and won it all, it was very debatable. So it's going to happen. Expand it. If an upset or 2 or 3 or every stinking game happens, so be it. It'll be something to talk about. It'll be a positive for college football. Upsets are not a bad thing. People are acting like upsets are a bad thing. Upsets are a good thing. So if that's the whole reason why you're against it, then your logic is actually the opposite of what it needs to be. Logan C says, Fickle has championship pedigree. We are on the rise. I agree with that. And Cincinnati is recruiting at a high level as well. Scott says, Arizona just hired the QB coach from the New England Patriots as head coach. What are your thoughts on that? I have no thoughts on that because that is crazy. I didn't even know that. Okay. Quickly. Score prediction. He's got to go. He's got to run real quick. But Ohio State versus Clemson before you get out of here. Who's the winner? What's the score?
I believe that, I don't know about the exact score, but I believe that Clemson will actually beat them by 3 or 4 touchdowns.
3 or 4 touchdowns? Okay, so you have Alabama beating Ohio State, or Clemson beating Ohio State. What about Alabama versus Notre Dame? Who you got in that?
Oh, I think that Alabama will be really, really good against them. Probably like same
thing. All right, so then we have Alabama versus Clemson. That's the matchup.
I believe that Clemson will probably win by like a touchdown or 2. It's going to be a very close game.
You think the defense or offense is going to?
I think actually the defense.
The defense. I agree. That's actually very.
And with the whole expanding, I would do like little steps, like 2, like over time, 2, because that'll decide what they actually need to put in, like not just.
But not like over like 20 years. Like
no, I mean like over like 3 or 4, maybe.
Right.
Tops.
I agree with that. I might have to end this because I'm running on his hotspot and he's leaving, so I might have to redo this.
Get my mom to do it.
So if I go down, I'm just letting you know. I'll try to get back on for a little bit maybe, but he's got to run. When you have a blended family, kids, they go other places, come back, go there, come back. It's a part of life. It's a fun life. I enjoy it.
I can try and set it up for her to do it too before I leave.
Well, what I'm saying is this is probably either way.
It'll go out whenever I leave.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
All right.
So, fair warning, it's going to go out, but it's all right. We'll try to get it set back up. If you're not a subscriber, go hit the subscribe button. I do videos every single day. I'm obsessed. Even my wife, she don't like it. She knows I'm obsessed. I put a lot of time into it. It gets me in trouble sometimes, but I make up for it. It's okay.